हेलो एवरीवन, आज हम आपकी मुलाकात करा रहे हैं अभी के सीईओ उमैर अंसारी से। अभी एक फिनटेक कंपनी है जिसका आगाज़ पाकिस्तान से हुआ तकरीबन 4 साल पहले और ये आहिस्ता आहिस्ता मिडल ईस्ट में भी एक्सपैंड कर गए हैं। तो वेलकम करते हैं उमैर अंसारी को। हाउ आर यू उमैर? वेलकम।
Thank you very much for having me.
अच्छा, थोड़ा सा अपनी कंपनी के बारे में बताइए। मैंने इंट्रोडक्शन करा दिया, फिनटेक है, 4 साल पहले पाकिस्तान से आगाज़ हुआ। तो आपके ऑफिसेज़ पाकिस्तान में कहाँ कहाँ पे हैं और कौन से प्रोडक्ट्स आप जो हैं इस वक्त ऑफ़र कर रहे हैं?
Sure. Thank you for having me on. So Abhi started about 4 years ago. We are currently in Karachi and Lahore. That's where our two main offices are. But as you rightly said, we've expanded abroad as well. Abhi essentially is an embedded finance platform. We do everything from working capital financing for SMEs, which is revenue-based financing, invoice factoring, and then allowing that employee base as well for large companies and SMEs to be able to access their salaries as they earn it. It's a product called Earned Wage Access. Very simply put, is if as you work, you're able to withdraw that day's salary along the way, as opposed to waiting till the end of the month for you to be able to withdraw that.
तो मैं कैसे एक्सेस कर सकता हूँ अभी को? थ्रू आपकी ऐप है और फिर अगर मुझे जैसे आपने कहा ये अर्न वेजेस वाली जो सैलरी है, ये एक एडवांस में अगर मुझे पैसे चाहिए तो वो मैं उससे फ़ायदा उठा सकता हूँ। थोड़ा सा एक्सप्लेन करें।
Gee, so what we do is we tie up with businesses. So we go into the business, work with the CFO, HR, and we allow their entire employee base to essentially download our app. So we have our own app, we have an SMS service, we have an IVR service as well, and a WhatsApp service. So you'd essentially be able to, once we onboard your company, then the entire employee base would be activated saying you now can download the app. We're both on Apple as well as Google Play Store. Once you download the app, you'd be able to see on a daily basis how much money you've made. So very simple example is, say your salary is 50,000 rupees. Middle of the month, you've technically earned 25,000 rupees.
Right.
So when you open up our app, you will see how much money you've earned till that day, and you'll be able to take out a percentage of that depending on the policies of the company.
Right.
And so then when you click a button, they take it out, we issue you a card as well, and the money gets sent directly to your existing bank account, and at the end of the month, that's deducted from your salary.
जो अर्न वेजेस वाले एक प्रोडक्ट है, इसमें यहाँ पे कंपटीशन आपको है? क्योंकि मैंने अभी रिसेंटली नोट किया है कि कुछ बैंक्स भी ये ऑफ़र कर रहे हैं एडवांस सैलरी। तो इस प्रोडक्ट में यू हैव कंपटीशन हियर इन पाकिस्तान?
Not as much competition as they used to be. So we used to have a little bit of competition when we first started, because the funding environment for Pakistan also was very open, and so at that point we saw a couple of competitors step in the space. We are the largest player now by a mile. Majority of the banks do slightly different offering than us. A lot of the banks we actually work with as well, so we have MOUs with majority of the banks in Pakistan. There are a couple smaller fintechs that are in the space now that have launched in the last year or so, I'd say, that are trying to compete with us. But we're still the largest in the space.
और इसमें अगर कोई ये अवेल करता है तो इस पे आपके चार्जेस ज़ाहिर है आप कुछ लेते होंगे, तो वो थोड़ा सा उसको बताइए इसके बारे में।
Yeah, so we charge, we're Sharia compliant, so we charge a fee on every transaction. So depending on the slab you take out, there's a fee associated with that.
ओके, एंड वो किसी चीज़ से लिंक्ड है? वो जो करंट यहाँ पे इंटरेस्ट रेट का एनवायरनमेंट है उससे लिंक्ड होता है या उसको सेट करते हैं?
Not necessarily. It's a set fee. Obviously, our cost of capital does come from where the KIBOR sits, but we have set the price separate to that. Okay. Obviously, we do make a profit. That's a point of our enterprise, but it's not linked per se to where the interest rate is.
ठीक है। अच्छा, इसके अलावा और कौन से प्रोडक्ट्स हैं आपके पास? इंडिविजुअल्स के लिए पहले बात कर लेते हैं। एक तो ये हो गया अर्न वेजेस का। For individuals?
So for individuals, what we have is, so now we've been around for about 4 years. We have a good credit history on a lot of individuals that we lend to. And so on the back of that, we now offer them longer products. So we provide them a closed loop BNPL service, for example, so they can purchase smartphones, refrigerators, TVs, all within our app, so almost like a marketplace. And again, they can use their salary to be able to do that. In the future, we plan to go into other forms of products like two-wheeler financing as well. We've started doing that with some larger enterprises for EVs specifically. Okay. So as companies want to convert their fleet to becoming more environmentally friendly, etc., we're helping that for their drivers to be able to access financing to purchase those vehicles. So these are some of the new products that we've been able to launch in the space.
अच्छा, that's good. तो अच्छा, इसमें भी एक दफ़ा फिर अगर हम कंपेयर करें विद द रेस्ट ऑफ द मार्केट, चाहे उसमें एसएमई बैंक्स हों या बैंक्स हों, तो आपके रेट्स बेटर देन the
No,
competitors?
definitely not. So look, banks, and now look, with our acquisition of a bank, I think our rates and our our threshold will be a little bit lower. However, we do not try and compete with the banks. Banks do not play the segment we play in. Neither do the SME banks either. We play in a segment where the banks and SME banks typically don't infiltrate. Our target market of people are earning less than 100,000 rupees a month.
Okay.
A bank does not provide any form of credit to someone who's earning less than that.
ठीक है. तो for individuals ये फिलहाल products हैं. अब if we move on to the businesses, तो businesses को क्या offer कर रहे हैं आप?
On the business side, we do working capital financing. So we do two main products of ours. One is invoice factoring. So we'll take your invoices, we'll vet it, we'll understand, we'll provide you with liquidity on the back of that.
अच्छा, sorry, इससे पहले कि थोड़ा और आगे बढ़ें, इसमें भी आपकी target market businesses में क्या है?
It's SMEs. So SMEs and MSMEs. So companies that typically, if you cannot avail a loan from a bank, where you come to us.
So-
That's essentially who I'd say our target market is, which is majority of Pakistan.
ठीक है.
So that's on one side of the product. The other one is for online companies. So we work with, for example, Daraz, Food Panda, Digikhata now. So their businesses that work on their platforms, they also tend to be very small. They don't have access to formal credit. We will do revenue-based financing on the back of that. Based on our algorithm, we'll put a credit score on the individual businesses and provide them with a facility for them to be able to build their business.
Okay. अच्छा, तो पाकिस्तान में आपको काम करते हुए 4 साल हो गए. तो यहाँ पे बिजनेस करना आपको आसान लग रहा है या कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें हैं जिनमें इम्प्रूवमेंट की ज़रूरत है ताकि ये ग्रो हो?
Yeah, look, there's always room for improvement. It's not an easy geography to work in. It's there's everything from regulatory to credit culture nuances, which people don't have. When you're touching credit for the first time, you typically don't have the understanding of what that means. There's not a lot of support either that's there for a company like us, for example, when we're trying to infiltrate that sector. You're also taking on a lot of risk. And we do a lot of on-balance sheet lending. So your NPLs can go quite high if you don't control that. Now, our job is to be able to make sure that those who don't have access to credit are getting access to it. But at the same time, in other countries, for example, there'll be a lot of support programs to be able to secure our NPLs. That doesn't exist here.
तो ये सपोर्ट आपको कौन देगा यहाँ पे पाकिस्तान में?
So over here, typically it comes from regulator and government.
Okay.
So that's how it works in other countries. They will give you a kind of a first loss guarantee that allows you to be able to go in and play that segment. That doesn't exist.
तो वो मॉडल यहाँ पे अभी नहीं है from the government side. तो इसमें have you approached the government? इसमें क्या स्टेट बैंक जो है वो आएगा और उसको थोड़ा सा facilitate करना पड़ेगा?
Absolutely. I think now with the acquisition as well, we're working very closely with SVP, and SVP has been very open to having these discussions. So we're now going to see how we can kind of see together how we can put together a kind of mandate around this. Because really for Pakistan to flourish, we have to be able to push a lot of the products that we're pushing through, but with the support of knowing that we're not only standing there alone to make it happen.
अच्छा, पाकिस्तान में फिर आप कोई एक्विजिशन करने जा रहे हैं माइक्रोफाइनेंस की, तो उसके बारे में बताएं.
Gee, so we've just acquired Finca, which is a microfinance bank. For us, we wanted to, upgrade our license. We had an NBFC license to begin with, which we still have, but we want to have a deposit-taking license, which allows us to bring down our cost of capital as well, and therefore allows us to bring down our rates. But also, beyond that, is start offering a lot more products in the back of that. Finca has a very strong gold-backed lending product, for example, which we're going to be fully digitizing. So we'll be building basically the first digital microfinance bank in the country, given that we're very strong when it comes to technology and product. And Finca has a good network of branches that we plan to kind of bring down. But beyond that, it also has a very large captive user base in rural areas, which is where we really are trying to focus on.
सही. Ashwin, you expanded to Middle East, ठीक है, Emirates में, and then you have one office in Saudi Arabia as well. तो अगर हम पहले मिडल ईस्ट की बात कर लेते हैं, उसको कंपेयर करें कि वहाँ पे क्या ये काम, जो मैंने आपसे सवाल पूछा था ना कि पाकिस्तान में क्या चैलेंजेस हैं, तो क्या वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा बेहतर एनवायरनमेंट है?
Yeah, it's a very easier operating environment for sure in the UAE and Saudi, simply because of fear of law. So if you think about it, we're a lending business. The biggest risk in the lending business is the person doesn't pay you back.
Yeah.
In Pakistan, unfortunately, if someone doesn't pay you back, the capability of you being able to enforce that, recover that money, etc., is an elongated process. You can spend years in court if you even get to court, and it'll be problematic. The good thing about UAE and Saudi is people don't want to default. A lot of people want to be living there, businesses as well, and so and it's technically illegal for you to default over there. So there's that fear already that exists. So you have an inherent lower cost of risk on what you're trying to build over there. So from that perspective, just culturally and from a security perspective, it's a much more easier place to operate. At the same time, the difficulty is because of that being a more secure place to work in, you have a lot more competition. So over here, you don't have as much competition because it's a hard place to work in. So you don't have many people saying, okay, yeah, Pakistan's a good place for us, so let's go and try and set up shop. UAE, Saudi, though, there's a lot more competition.
मिडल ईस्ट के अलावा आपके नज़रें हैं कुछ और मार्केट्स पे एक्सपैंड करने में, और वो कहाँ पे?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, when Ali and I started this company, we had a dream to be an emerging marketplace. So we wanted to be a one-stop shop everywhere from Nigeria all the way to Indonesia at one point, which was about 15, 16 countries and on one belt. But all baby steps. Rome wasn't built in one day. So I think for us is that we want to be able to make sure that every market we go in and we're sizable. We prove ourselves there and then expand out. So that's what we did. Pakistan, we proved ourselves. We became the largest player, profitable. Then went into UAE. UAE, we were the second ones there, but became the first. And then we're able to show that we were able to execute there and then step into Saudi. So step by step for us.
Omair, all the best to you.
Thank you so
very
much.
much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on.